the session that you would have got, the title you would have got is outsource your brain and unlock creativity. Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so anyone has any idea what I'm going to talk about? I'll give you some options, maybe what I'm going to talk about. I'm probably going to talk about, let's say, creativity, how to be creative, or I'm going to talk about, let's say, how to be productive, or I'm going to talk about how to hack your brain and become superhuman.
I'm saying all three, maybe.
Yeah, sort of all three. Yes. So basically, we will look at how you can do things. I mean, like organize things and collect information, and by that also how you can unlock the potential of creativity that you can bring into your day-to-day life. Okay. So what we will go through roughly is this. This is something that you would have got in the email as well. First we will just debate a little bit about what our brain is for. Okay, and then we look at. I think all of us know now we are bombarded with a lot of information from different sources on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we will see what is that, and then we will see some principles of how we can effectively make our brain work for us and how we can outsource certain activities of our brain to tools that are available and how we can utilize those tools to think better. Okay, and we will compare a little bit about digital tools and analog tools. Then I will show you what I do. Okay, how my workflow has evolved over the years and what I do on a day-to-day basis, and some tips on how you can get started, and then look at some resources that you might find helpful. Okay, so now another question: what is our brain for?
Brain does whatever we need. So it thinks on behalf of us and makes all our desire come true.
Okay.
It basically processes information surrounding us and try to categorize the information and use it to a specific way.
Anything else?
To give instructions to other body parts, what to do and how to behave.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So I have a bit. Yeah.
It typically interprets like things around us and give instruction to the senses how to react towards that.
Okay. Yeah. So all of you are right, but I have a bit of a different take on what our brain does or what our brain is for. Okay. So pre-internet era, okay, when we were before the internet era, the brain was used for memorization. I think many of us old boys will remember, we used to remember phone numbers. We used to remember a lot of things. When you go and study also, memorization was a big part of our routine. Okay, so memorizing things was a big part of our routine. And then analysis, doing, whatever information that you receive, process it, like Sandeep mentioned. Okay. Then last part, creativity, which we struggle with most of the time. Okay, but brain was for these three things predominantly. Of course, controlling your body and all those things are all natural functions of your brain. But in terms of general principles, these are three things that you can say. Okay, when the internet era came, when your Google and computer came, okay, I think slowly all of us have weaned down from using our brains for memorizing anything. Okay, so everything is pretty much at the fingertips. We search for information, we get it. Okay, and we use it for some creative action. We try to at least use for some creative thinking or critical thinking and things like that. Okay, so memorization is sort of gone. You don't need to memorize things anymore. Okay, because you have internet to search, now you have ChatGPT to answer your things. You don't need to memorize it anymore. Okay, so that's how the function of the brain has evolved over pre-internet to internet era. Now, with the AI era, this might be a little too far-fetched, but I first of all think now you don't even need to analyze. Okay, you can feed in information to certain tools and you will be able to get a summarization or a quick insight into what is there in that, or if you have data, you have data analysis tools and things like that. So now the function of the brain is more about creativity, like thinking something about, whatever you're doing, some new ideas. That is what is the primary function of the brain. It might be a little too far-fetched, but this is where at least I think we are heading in the next few years. Okay. So this is something that I read in one of the books. Okay. I think it is probably one of the things that has stuck to me very, very strongly. Okay. It is, the statement is that your brain is for having ideas. Okay. That is, having is to generate ideas. Okay. It is not for holding them. Okay. Your brain is for thinking of something new, something innovative, something how you can do different, or something value add that you can bring in. Your brain is for generating these new ideas. Okay. Don't hold ideas in your brain. Okay. This is from a author of a famous book called Getting Things Done. Okay. Which is a sort of a methodology of how you can get your tasks done and things like that. So he says that don't hold information in your brain, offload it to some other tool or notebook or whatever, but keep your brain free for generating ideas. Okay. So that is the whole premise of this entire session that we are going to do. Okay. I was just checking, I came across some facts. Okay. This is a bit astounding. Okay. So the amount of information that our brain consumes, okay, this is 34 gigabytes is what they said. That is the information an average brain consumes on a daily basis. This was some 2008 research. Okay. It could be much higher now. Okay. You can all know, you know that, you typically we spend about 4 hours on screen watching videos or, reading something or things like that. So if you just take the gigabyte value of that, it's definitely much more than this 34 gigabytes of information that we download. There is a lot of information that we gather during work. There is a lot of information that we gather when we are not at work by consuming information outside newspapers or TV or whatever it is. Okay, so there is a lot of information overload, and now the challenge in these days is to make sense of this information that you're getting. Okay, while we have a lot of information, I think this everyone is familiar. Okay, we might consume some information on day one. Okay, pretty soon we might forget it. Okay, the forgetting curve is pretty fast nowadays, because there is so much information that you are bombarded with. So we face with this problem every time. There is always some information. You might remember that something you read about, but you don't know where you read about it, or you don't know when you thought about it. We've all been in that kind of a situation where there is something that there is a sort of a deja vu feeling that, okay, maybe we know this, maybe we came across this, but we don't know exactly where it happened or where we encountered that information. Okay, so this is also again some research that we don't hold all the information that we consume always. Okay, it goes down. We sort of forget pretty much everything that we learn. Okay, so now how there is so much information that is there, so many things that you learn. How do you basically make sure that this forgetting curve is somewhat better? You can probably have some knowledge stored somewhere. The main thing to do for that is to depend on some kind of a external tool, whether it is, I think we've all taken notes when we were in college or in school. Okay, similar to that, having an external tool to capture all the information that we are bombarded with is something that is helpful. Okay, and this is again a famous principle. Okay, from, I'm not sure if you've heard, anyone has heard about this concept of second brain or digital garden, as they speak about. Has anyone heard about it? So the second brain concept is basically a concept which says, okay, don't put all the information in your brain. Okay, it's just a fancy word of saying that, okay, you use some tools like, we all might be using, we might be using some tasks in Outlook, we might be taking some notes, but do it in a much more sort of structured approach. Okay, so this is the principle that this author Tiago Forte, who wrote it down in his book, okay, which is collect all the information. First of all, when you come across a lot of information across different things, you might be commuting to office, you might be watching some interesting video, there might be some information in that, you might be reading a LinkedIn article, okay, you might be seeing an interesting tweet, okay, which you think is insightful, which might be needed for the future. So collect all the information that you need, okay, at any point of time, on a day-to-day basis. Have this habit of collecting, putting it into an external tool. Okay, second is to organize that information. Okay, collecting over a period of time, you will end up with a lot of junk. Okay, so just like how we need to cut trees to prune it so that it looks nice, so we have to organize the information that we collect. Okay, some information may be relevant for 1 week, some might be relevant for a long time, some may not be relevant at all. So you need to organize that information over a period of time. And distill is basically putting that information into your own words. If you read some article somewhere on the internet, make sure that you write your own note about it, so that that will stay in your memory when you write down, rather than that entire article that you read. Okay, so this is what he says. Okay, so to capture information, whatever is relevant, and periodically clean up that information and organize it, tag it, and keep it. We'll see how this is done in the next few slides. Okay, and make sense of whatever information that you're collecting in your own words. Okay, this could be anything from the articles that you read to your meeting notes to your daily log, what you're doing on a day. Okay, all of it parts of this forms part of this information. Then express this information, basically review periodically. What he says is that when you collect a lot of information, organize it, and distill that information into your own words and keep looking at it frequently, okay, there will be some connections that will emerge from seemingly unrelated data. Okay, so there might be something that you encountered, like for example, we were discussing, Balaji and I were discussing about an idea for a app. Okay, it was about a business network for entrepreneurs. Okay, so I had noted it down. Okay, then later when we went on a trip, suddenly some other thought process came into mind. Okay, which is sort of related to that. Because we had written it down, we were able to link it to that particular idea and connect them together and see that, okay, maybe this is how we can take this idea forward. Okay, so these connections will emerge over time. Okay, so that's why he says to collect, organize, distill, and express. It's a core principle. There are some other principles like this. Okay, but this is something that is sort of simple to understand. Okay, what can you collect? Basically, what you need not store in your brain. Okay, what you need to put into another tool. Okay, I think tasks is a very, very clear one. Okay, don't store any of your tasks in your brain. Okay, saying that this needs to be done on this particular day, this insurance premium needs to be paid on a particular day. Offload everything that you have into a separate tool or a notebook. We will see what you can use for it later. But whatever it is, whether it's a personal task or it's a work-related task, okay, you can offload it to some tool that is there. Second is keeping track of your habits, whether it is waking up on a daily basis or reading for something, keeping track whether you are progressing with the habit that you have. Okay, so all these things can be offloaded. Anyone already uses task management tools or Outlook tasks or notebooks for maintaining all these work-related tasks and things like that?
Yeah, in the phones we normally use this.
Sorry?
In the phone reminders, we set the date.
Yeah,
and
reminder
Okay.
we are using. Yeah.
Okay.
I use sticky notes. Ji.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so this is one thing. Okay, most of us typically tend to have task somewhere noted down. Okay, maybe it's not greatly organized or something, but most of us tend to write down the tasks. But here, what I'm talking about is anything to do has to go into a list. Don't keep it in your mind. So that what happens is the behavior changes, right? You know that after some time of doing that habit, you don't need to depend on your brain to remind you of that particular task. You always know that, okay, if I have a task, I would have written it down here. Let me go and look at it there. So that's all. So you take the stress out of remembering and keeping track of things. Okay, so tasks is one thing that you can do. Second thing, which not many of us might be doing. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. If any of you do it, please let me know. We might come across tons of articles that we read on LinkedIn, this and that, and whatever it is. Okay, we browse through a lot of video content or tweets or whatever. Okay, we might read it. Okay, we might read it once or twice, but we don't usually save that information. If it is, even if it's something that is relevant, we don't try to save it. Okay, unless it's like our websites that we need to go into regularly, like to see your salary slip, or to go to your bank account or things like that, or we have bookmarks for that. But we don't have any capturing mechanism for any of the interesting things that we read over a period of time. Okay, so this is another thing which you can offload. Third is notes. Okay, this is the biggest part of having this second brain or digital brain. Okay, so what many people suggest is whatever you do during the day, whether it is meeting notes or whether it is things you read, okay, some learning that you're doing, some video that you're watching, some points from that, okay, write it down. Okay, write it down, because writing has become like very minimal these days. Okay, when you write it down, you know that this information is there. Now there are tools available for you to quickly search and get this information. Okay, so this is something that you can do. There is also an idea of journals and maintaining a daily journal of how the day was, what you achieved in a day, not achieved, let's say what were the highs and what were the lows during the day. It could be personal, it could be work. So you can maintain, and what are your goals for that particular day. Okay, so you can keep maintaining some journals or things like that. Okay, so these are some things that you can do. These things over a period of time sort of help you to connect different ideas together, and maybe something new will be born out of it. Okay, so first is we need to try to collect all this information. Second is to offload this information to different tools that are available. Okay, now there are many different kinds of tools that are available. Okay, but we can, like, the reminders that you have is pretty dynamic tool. You don't create reminders. You can have projects also. Okay, but there are two kinds of tools. One where you have projects, folders, tags, things like that. And there is another dynamic kind of tool. We will see a dynamic example. Structured tools are like the OneNote that you have is a structured tool, or a Todoist. You can have projects and tasks under it. There are these two different kinds of tools. There's a dynamic tool where it's like a daily journal where you put everything inside, and there is no structure that is mandatory. There are quick search available for you to quickly search information. Typically, the collect tools are different from manage tools. Collecting bookmarks and things like that are a separate tool, and managing notes and other information is a separate tool. Then there is analog and digital, right? You can use notebooks, diaries, or any piece of software. Anyone in the crowd who's still using a lot of notebooks and diaries. Okay, so then you might not like what I'm going to say. Okay. So digital versus analog. Okay, so there is always a debate, whether digital is good or analog is good. Like writing it down in a notebook is good, or using some kind of a software is good for you. Okay, so I have a sort of a biased view with respect to this. Okay, what I feel is that information that we receive today is mostly digital. Okay, it's all emails, some links that you are there, some website that you visit. All this is there. So you should look for digital tools, and there are advantages with respect to quick retrieval. In a notebook you have to search, unless you are a super organized person. Okay, you have like tags and pages and everything documented on a notebook. You need to be, unless you are like that, you cannot use a notebook effectively. Okay, I'm not sure if you have heard a concept of bullet journaling. Okay, that is one way of maintaining an analog notebook in a much organized manner. It's a very simple methodology. Okay, for doing a bullet journal. Okay, so you can Google it and see what it is. So if you're an analog person, then you should try to do something like a bullet journal where you are a bit more organized, so that you can easily retrieve information quickly. Okay, there is no point writing down an information which you cannot retrieve really quickly, or which you cannot really comprehend at a later stage. Okay, so this is my biased view. Okay, so I'm sure that there will be people who will still stick to analog. Even I have tried analog in between. Okay, but it didn't work for me because the information that I consume is mostly digital. Okay, so this is one note that I took from the notebook that I had earlier. Okay, so I had written down something about social psychology. Okay, I don't remember when I wrote it. Okay, I don't remember the points that are there in that. Okay, because there is no context to the information that I've written. Okay, so this is what happens most of the time. It might seem, when you're taking in a notebook for a meeting, you might seem a bit professional and nice, but you need to be really thorough in maintaining your notes. Even digital notes, you need to provide some context, but digital notes usually have some date or something attached to it, so you will know. So unless you put a date, etc., in your notebook, maintain everything, this is what will happen. You will not recognize your own note after some time. Okay, so I will talk a little bit about what I did. Okay, so in terms of how I went about choosing my tool, and how I sort of outsourced various things and activities in my journey. Okay, this is a scene from a series called Suits. Okay, I'm not sure if any of you have watched. Okay, it's this is my ideal scenario. What I wanted in terms of Balaji knows it. Okay, this is what I typically want. I hope you.
need the. Oh, also, I didn't have the chance to marry me.
I took care of that too. We've been married for the last 7 years.
Excellent.
Okay, so I would love to have a secretary who thinks, probably before you tell her, okay, what needs to be done. Okay, so if you didn't catch the video, he came. I think he just said, I need to, and she gave him a letter. I wanted to, and she gave him a coffee. Okay, which is what he was thinking about. So ideally, this would have been an ideal situation for me to have a person like this who can manage everything. Okay, but unfortunately, that's not the truth.
And that ideal scenario includes the person like her.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so. Her name is Donna Paulson. Okay, so you can Google if you want. Okay, or at least this, right? You have someone like a Jarvis.
For you, sir, always. I'd like to open a new project file. Index has Mark II. Shall I store this on the Stark Industries central database? Actually, don't know who to trust right now. Till further notice, why don't we just keep
Okay, so I don't have a Jarvis also. Okay, unfortunately, at least not yet. Okay, so we are getting there, but maybe in somewhere down the future we'll have it. But I don't have this also. What I'm left with at this point of time is
Asif
this.
Vasant has
Yeah.
raised his hand.
Okay, I can't see. So yeah, Vasant.
No, I raised it earlier actually when you asked
Okay.
more about physical notes.
Okay. So the reality is like this. Okay, so you have some tools where you write it down. Okay, so this is the reality of all of us, at least at this point of time. So this is what I am stuck with also. Okay, I've been sort of trying to perfect this art for like 10 years now. I have used pretty much every tool that is there in the market for trying to get things done. I was trying to find something where I can manage all my work, all the tasks and everything that is there. So I've used pretty much everything that is there in the market. Okay, I've tried different kinds of tools. I'm sort of a like little bit. I have a little bit of OCD with when it comes to these kind of tools. Okay, so I've typically used a lot of tools. I think many of these tools will be good enough for a regular workflow of any person. Okay, so for most of you, this will be a good start. Whether it's a Apple Notes or whether it's an Evernote or a Notion, okay, these will be a good start for you to get started with using these tools. Okay, but for me it didn't work. I will show you what I use a bit later. Okay, so now a little bit of flex. Okay, so I know many of you may not have tools that you are using for your workflow, so I will show you what I have. Okay, and we'll just look at some tools that I use. Okay. So first is, let me show you what I use for like bookmarking. Okay. So this is a tool called Raindrop that I use. It's a free tool. Okay. Where whatever link that I find, okay, typically when I read something, some article or something, I find it, I can, quickly go into and save that particular article. Usually it's like there is a button, there is a Chrome extension that is there. So any article that I'm reading, so I can just add a bookmark and store it, categorize it, and come back to it later. Okay, I can also put it into a category called, let's say, read later or something like that. Okay, so I typically store most of my bookmarks. So you can see here all the different things. Here, the categorization is there. One of the things that I mentioned, this is a structured tool where you need to sort of move it into different topics. You can do it. So these are all the bookmarks that I've collected over a period of time. So I can quickly search and find something. I probably remember that something I saw, so I can quickly search and find information from this tool. Okay, so this is something that I use to collect bookmarks, which is most of my information. Okay, whenever I like, there are some integrations also which is done. Okay, so whenever I like a tweet or whenever I like a YouTube video, okay, so I don't like every other YouTube video. So I like only the videos that I want to watch it later or something like that. So whenever I like it, it automatically stores it here. So there is an integration. So it automatically stores it here, and I can use this particular tool for. So you can see a bunch of videos that I would have seen and maintained here, articles and whatever it is. So different kinds of information is shown here. So this periodically I try to categorize it, delete something that is not relevant and things like that. Second thing that I use is, I'm not sure if you have seen on LinkedIn, many of you, it's a very sort of hidden item. You can save items on LinkedIn, right? You can save jobs, which maybe many of you are doing, but you can also save articles, right? So you can, when you see something, you can like click and save an article. There will be a save button and you can save. Okay. Unfortunately, LinkedIn does not have integrations to any of the popular tools. So for LinkedIn, I have to depend on this saved items. So this is there. So I can, read through it and sometimes delete and clean up some information that is not relevant for me from this at any point of time. Okay. So that is something that I use. There is also some other tools that I use. For example, there is a tool called Readwise. Okay. Which is I can highlight some things on the website. So I can, if I like something, not the entire article, I can just highlight it. It will get saved into the tool. It sort of gives me flashcards every day. Okay. I don't use it so often, at least now, but whatever I've saved as an information, every day it will show me 10 flashcards from whatever I've saved, whether it's article that I've read or book that I've read. It can show you that information. It's not necessary that you use all these tools, but I'm just saying that these are available. Okay, if someone wants to use it, then you can use this particular tool. So I can put this into my reader and I can highlight it. So I can go into that and see, what is there in that particular tool and see it. Okay. So these are some some things that I use for collect, mostly the bookmarks and other things. Another tool that I mainly use is called Logseek, which is again a tool it's called a PKM tool. Okay, now this is a buzzword, personal knowledge management. Okay, so it is like this. Usually when you open afresh without any customizations to your workflow, it's a very, very simple thing. Okay, so what it shows you is a date. Okay, which is the current day. So typically what I do here is, okay, today I had a meeting. Okay, so I can just so I can just say, okay, today morning I just remembered to pay the insurance premium. Okay, insurance premium to be paid. I can just note it down. Okay, I can also schedule it to a particular date. So I can say, okay, this needs to be reminded to me on the 29th. Okay, so it is scheduled to a particular date. Okay, on the 29th, if I go to that date, it will appear in this thing. Okay, I can also take notes. For example, any meeting notes, I can just, this is a file type called Markdown. So I can just say a meeting note. Okay, this is what we discussed today. Okay, and some action items, again, I can note it down. This is a very frictionless tool. You don't need any organization or anything like that. And you can just keep noting things down and linking stuff. So you can have projects, for example, here is something here. So I have a knowledge session page where I have written something about knowledge session. So you can create these links. This is the only thing that you can do with this tool. So you can basically create a new page and put down a lot of information in that page. Okay, so this is something that I use just to give you a taste. I'll show you how the exact tool works. This is just a demo graph that is there. Okay, so you can use, there are whiteboards in this, so you can, if you want to doodle some ideas, you can do a whiteboarding and things like that. So you can draw something on the same thing and it will maintain, and all those things are available in this tool. So this is what I use on a sort of day-to-day basis. So I have this tool. Okay, so for example, I can quickly search. So let's say knowledge session. Okay, so this is my notes for whatever the title that I had, the agenda that I wrote, whatever the presentation ideas that I have, all of it is there. Okay, and my tasks for today, what is my goal for today. Okay, so I have for each of the day, whatever meetings that I've done, all of the information is stored in this tool. Okay, so there are videos available if you're interested. There are similar tools like this. Okay, there is something called capacities. There is something called any type. If you Google for personal knowledge management, you will find quite a lot of tools that are there for it. So I can quickly search. For example, we are working on a project called Semingo. So if I go to this page, so I have all the information that I have gathered for this, all the meeting notes that I've taken related to this. So it creates link wherever I put that particular word in my daily journal, it will automatically show me linked, showing that, okay, this is the tasks that is there. Okay, so this is something that has been very, very helpful for me over a period of time. Okay, another nice thing that is there in this tool is like whenever I'm reading some PDF, for example. Okay, so this is a PDF that I'm reading about Ruby language. So what I can do is highlight on the PDF directly, okay, and take notes, okay. So for example, I can click this, so it will take me to that relevant section on the PDF. So I have uploaded the PDF to this tool. Whatever I highlight, okay, so I can just say highlight this one. This is highlighted, copy this reference, and I can just paste it here. So that next time I just want to go into that PDF, I just click it and go to that PDF particular section and read it. Okay, so this is something that one of the reasons why I am using this tool. Okay, this is something that is very, very useful for me. So I'm using this. Okay, sometimes when I watch long videos also, I can copy and paste the YouTube videos here and sort of go to a specific time stamp. Okay, so I find something very interesting in this particular timestamp, so I can put it and some write notes. Here she talks about something. Okay, again, I don't use this so often, but this is something that I found interesting. So I can just click on this, it will take me to that very specific point, and I can I can see that information. Okay, so this is something that I've been using, okay, for sort of my workflow. Okay, so any questions on what I've shown? Okay, so again, on a MacBook, there are quite a few things you can do. Okay, so for example, searching my bookmarks, I have a shortcut. Okay, so I can just say, this is my shortcut. I want to search about some foreign key article that I had. Okay, so it will take me to that particular article directly. Okay, so these kind of sort of quick things are there to take the friction out of finding that information that we already have stored. Okay, so this is what I use. Okay, so in terms of collecting, organizing, distilling information, one thing that you need to remember is the organized part is very, very important. Okay, I used to collect a lot of information, but over a period of time, it became too much. Okay, so you need to make sure first you need to have, there are a few questions that you need to ask before you save something. Is it going to be useful for me in the longer term? Okay, is it something very interesting for me to come and look at? You think of that and save that information and periodically organize it so that you can keep it clean in terms of how you store the information. Okay, so these are the tools, and again, this is important because if you just Google for creativity and connecting things, okay, there are tons of quotes which says that creativity is nothing but connecting seemingly unrelated things. Okay, so to connect seemingly unrelated things, you have to first collect those things. Okay, so that is the whole point. So that you whatever information that you come across, try to collect it, and then the relationships between them will fall in place over a period of time. Okay, so you can have pretty much all the information that you collect appear in some tool that is there, and you can collaborate and find some interlinking interesting ideas. Any questions on this so far? Okay, so in terms of how you can get started, okay, first is intent to write things down. Okay, start by putting anything that you need to memorize should not be there in your brain. Okay, anything that you want to keep for future should not be there in your brain. Okay, just move it to an external tool. Okay, whether it's a notebook or whether it's a digital tool, move it to an external tool. That is the first thing, and do it very diligently. Okay, ideally have a mobile app. Choose a tool that has a mobile app, because most of the time you will not be in front of a laptop or something. So to get this habit done, it needs to be very, very easy for you to do. Okay, you can use Apple Notes, reminders, things like that. Okay, for me, it's a little bit complex workflow because there are too many projects to handle, too many people to deal with. Okay, but for most of you, it should be easy to use existing tools like Notes and OneNote and things like that. Okay, then once you have this intent, start with tasks. Okay, because that's the easiest to put in place, put into a outside tool. Maintain a daily log of what you do, just a few words of what you do. Even if you see the log seek that I have, okay, so I try to at least have this top 3 goals and highs and lows for the day. Okay, so I try to write something there. Not every day I manage to do also, not perfect, but I try to write something there in that daily log, what I do. Okay, helps me also fill my timesheet at the end of the day or at the end of the month. Okay, sometimes if I want to see what I did, I just go to the daily log and see, and then figure out and write it. You can maintain a journal if you want. After you do 2, then look at external links and bookmarking and organizing. What tool to use? Don't spend too much time. Don't spend 10 years like me to find a perfect tool. Get started with something. Okay, I think for most of you, any regular tools will work where you can capture notes and to-dos. Okay, it should work. So there are some things like security, portability, and things like that. Okay, so based on that, I have chosen mine. You can do your own research in terms of which ones to use. Ideally, I would suggest to use a digital tool because you can easily find information and retrieve information. Okay, so the benefit of this is peace of mind and less stress. Okay, and I've been doing this like for last maybe from September, I think, very diligently. Okay, and I can tell you that there is a market difference. Okay, I don't now think that I have to remember XYZ. The moment I have something, I write it down. Okay, so now I know that anything that I want to do is there somewhere in my tool, that the software that I use. Okay, so it gives you a lot of peace of mind and reduces stress. Okay, and all the meeting notes, etc. It serves as a reminder for, like, sometimes you have a meeting, you forget what was discussed. So I note it down, you remember what is there, and you can go ahead and act on those things in the future. Okay, so this is the key reason why you should do it. Start small, and I think it will be very, very helpful for you to do this. And it, again, don't feel bad that you are starting giving up. Okay, like I said, it took me 10 years to sort of arrive at that arrive at that workflow that I am happy with. Okay, so you will go through that phase of writing all the information, not writing, but try to create a small habit and try to put all the information into these kinds of tools and do offload the memorization and analysis activity to the second brain, your digital brain. Okay,
Plus,
these are, yeah.
is there a tool which reminds you to take notes in that app?
So that is why the first thing is intent. Without intent, you cannot do anything. Okay, so there needs to be a strong intent. That's why choose a tool which has the lowest friction. Okay, in terms of inputting. Okay, so like earlier, I used to use notes. Okay, where I had projects, things like that, and organized. It used to take a lot of time. I was never happy with the kind of structure that I was maintaining. So now it's very easy for me. I just go here, write down something. I'm not worrying about organization at all. Okay, later I organize. Okay, so choose a tool to make it easy. Just to choose a tool where you can just go and drop the idea inside and then slowly go into organizing that later. Okay, if you don't remember at all, then it's a different story altogether. Okay,
Sandeep has raised.
yes, yeah, I can't see the people who have raised questions, so you can just
So Sandeep,
shoot.
yeah.
Hi Asif, it's
Yeah.
good to know about so many tools that can we can organize our data information on a regular basis. But
Yeah.
somehow I feel that the so-called these free tools that we use to keep our information, that might be misused at some extent. We don't know because they might be try to use the specific pattern in our information to sell some product to us, or try to
Correct.
find out some sort of coherence with behavior with other people. So is it safe to use such free tools? What do you think?
So it's up to you, Sandeep. So see, I would say that there are privacy-focused tools. Okay, so the one that I use now, Logseek, is storing all the information on your local disk. Okay, so it doesn't store anything on the cloud. Okay, unless you want to sync. Okay, and that sync option can also be your own OneDrive or whatever sync option that you want. You can sync it via GitHub. Okay, there are tools like that. There are also tools which encrypt your data. Okay, privacy focused tools are there. Okay, but it's a choice that you have to make, whether you have such critical information that you don't want to put it into these tools, or you want to take advantage of the suggestions the AI is built into that. Like Notion is a very popular tool. They have something called Notion AI built in. It gives you suggestions based on the patterns that it has identified. So it's up to you which tool you want to use, the comfort level that you have with these tools. Okay, so there are options available for everything. Okay, so you can definitely put information. Don't put anything confidential, like your passwords and things like that should not go into a note-taking tool. Okay, so that should be somewhere else. But you can store other information, which for me, I would say our notes, even we don't understand sometimes when we read it later. So I doubt if somebody will be able to make sense of it. Okay, so for me, it's okay, but it's again your choice. There are lots of tools choices available. Okay, anything else? If there is nothing, Then I will stop here.